Here we go! We're back.
Yep.
Hello and welcome to the 4th episode of InstantQast. I am your host, Nicole. I'm joined as always by my lovely co-host, Judas Priestley. Hello, Judas. How are you? How's it been? How's the week been?
I'm all good, thank you, Nicole. It's still very, very hot here. Just
Yeah.
European cooking time, I guess, is what's going on right now. But everyone's in a good mood at least because we all got to watch a fantastic Argentinian performance last night, and so I'm sure we're all very, very happy about it.
Very happy. Yeah, World Cup. Oh my God, I'm from Norway. Norway lost to England, so I'm very happy to see that Argentina kicked them out. You, as a Welshman, I can only imagine. Fuck them colonizers. All right, so we got a lot of interesting topics. Not too much news because most of the news came from the patch that we already reviewed last time. But first of all, I did this at the end of last week's episode, so I'm going to do it first right away in this episode, and that is tell you that if you want to comment some feedbacks, either on the Reddit post that I usually post on Fridays, with the video, or in the Twitch chat right now. We are streaming, if you didn't know. Catch us on twitch.tv/InstantQast, spelled as on the screen, or in the YouTube comments. Any feedback, any questions you might have, we'll take the feedback or answer the questions on the next episode, because we did get some feedback. And the feedback we got was on the Reddit, so thank you very much for listening. I'm not going to tell you, say your name or your username in case you want to remain anonymous. But what we were told were basically that we were being a little too negative on Hi-Res. We were complaining a lot, and I gotta say, I mean, it's probably true, but it's also warranted. I would say on a lot of topics, not everything. I feel like we could bring it a little upbeat, be more upbeat. What do you think?
Well, yes, for sure. I think we've made an effort this week to be a bit more positive about a few things. Like try to find some good news. Actually seek it out, or at least interesting topics that is not just complaining about stuff. However, I would say the last 3-4 weeks of patches have been bad, and I would like to still call that out. If I feel like they're not doing what is required or expected, or to a lower standard, which there will be a little bit of today, particularly looking at Xing Tian and now that god's out. But again, we want it to be neutral in the sense that we are not just going to glaze all the time, and we're not just going to bully all the time. It will be whatever we feel at the moment. So hopefully there will be better good news and more positive stuff to talk about again as we find today. But if there's bad stuff, we're going on the bad. Let me say.
That's the thing. Like we aren't Hi-Res. We're not hired by Hi-Res. Hi-Res has nothing to do with this podcast other than that we like to talk about their game, and we love their game. We love Smite. We love Smite 2. Keep doing great work, Hi-Res, please. But when you mess up, it's up to us. It's up to the community to call that out so that they can hopefully find a fix. Or if they don't find a fix, we can, spread the word to the community to tell them, maybe don't play this god until they do this fix or something like this, whatever. Anyway, like I said, if you have any feedback, don't be afraid to let us know. But for now, we still have the Xing Tian debacle, I would say, that followed from last week. He was released on Tuesday. There was already some murmurs during his preview, or in the PTS, about certain things feeling weird or being not what we're used to in Smite 1. So did you catch any of the community's feedback on Xing Tian?
Yeah, I've seen lots of things here and there, bits and pieces sort of floating around of people's opinions and everything. I haven't really seen initially, like day one, people were like, "Wow, this is so good! It's nice little enhancements that he's had," which is kind of our reaction from last week, right? Like the things like the feedback or how it feels between using the Skycut AX and the hook slam and everything. Really good change, and that seemed to be what people liked, particularly the reoccurring the damage from the Furious Roar. Good stuff. Good changes. That's how it felt good. And now that people have had a bit more time to pilot the god and everything, it just kind of feels off. I think is the theme of the theme of the day. I've noticed there was a post from Inbound on Twitter, actually, basically not related to Xing Tian directly, but just saying, hey guys, if could you just dump a load of feedback on me for
Yeah,
like how God feels and everything?
yeah, I
If you
saw
want to
this. I
do
saw
that,
this.
head up to Inbound on Twitter, right? He's got this post. Just throw stuff in there. They do look at these things, particularly if someone like Inbound can collate it and give it to the people who need to know, right? Like it's nice to have that sort of interlink. But yeah, there seems to be this general feel that things don't quite feel right with the god, and that's not really a new thing either. A few gods have sort of been coming out feeling that way, and I don't know if you remember, Nickel, way back, right at the start of Smite 2. Smite 2 looked cool. Oh wow, it's Smite 2, it's all new and everything. And then you start playing, like, oh, that feels wrong, or like, oh,
Yeah,
these minions don't track this way, or why is this working this way? They went through a pass back then to like sort of re-smitify it. Things like the
yeah.
gold, like when you kill an enemy, like a chunk of gold slurps into your pocket, right? They added little things like that, which is great. They maybe need to do a little bit of that again.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like small little quality of life slash, what's it called? Like, it's the soul of the game, kind of. It's like
Yes,
I don't even
the,
know
the
what to
general
call it.
feel, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, just
the identity of the game, the feel of the game, what brings out the smite of it, And I understand that this might not be their main priority right now. They might not want to, focus on these like small little details that make smite what it is. But as we're gonna get to later in the podcast, there comes a point during Smite 2's life cycle where we gotta start thinking about, okay, we have grabbed enough attention and enough people are playing the game. When should we start prioritizing the quality, so to speak? And with the way they're pumping out content right now, and especially with this massive balance changes and such, I understand they don't have time to make everything super clean or smooth, but
yeah,
Xing Chen is another level to this of like a character that felt, even he was one of the earlier season 2 characters, I'm pretty sure,
yeah,
in Smite
yeah,
1, and he pretty, other than a little hiccup with his 3,
yeah.
he felt like a pretty smooth character all around, especially after the little updates he got over the years. But this Smite 2 version, well, I don't know how they messed some of these things up.
Yeah, I don't remember if this was something that was written into like the code, but it's something I vaguely remember. Could Xing Chen not jump over walls? Wasn't that one of his things in that he could jump, but he like wasn't
It
allowed by the game to jump over walls,
I don't
and that's what
remember.
sort of caused this thing,
Yeah, I don't remember
like that
if it
glitchy jump.
was his because his hop was very short, and I don't
Yes,
remember if Smite 1 had all of the walls too thick, so you weren't able to jump over walls, or if he just actually couldn't.
couldn't. Yeah, yeah. I'm not
Like it
sure.
counted as a dash almost, because dashes don't
Yeah,
go over the walls.
because obviously that was what caused the there was always that hiccup with Xing Jian where sometimes you'd press the jump thing, he'd do like his flip, but it didn't use the
Yeah,
cooldown, or you'd actually jump, like he just didn't jump, it just played the animation. And I feel like they've tried to get rid of that, but I feel like they've added the jumping over walls thing now, which I actually think was like a specific nerf to Xing Chen, right? But in that his strength, if you can just jump over a wall and then zoop, scoop everyone up, that could be like ridiculously powerful. It almost feels like they've missed that detail, right? So they've missed the fact that he shouldn't be able to jump over walls. So then they've balanced him as if he can jump over walls, and that's why we're getting this feeling with the ult, where the ult is just bad. Like it just doesn't seem to do what it's supposed to. So just to touch on some of the feedback everyone's been talking about. So um, old Xing Chen, Smite 1 Xing Chen, you would start the ult, it had like this little wind up, right? And as soon as you caught someone in that wind up, it had like its own sort of status effect, right? Almost similar to how Sobek pluck works, where it grabbed you, spun you around, and then flung you away, right? So if you were knock up immune, like let's say you were a Anubis and you were channeling your first ability, you could still get picked up by a Xing Chen because it stopped you, then looped you up, and then threw you away. And it seems like now, they've gotten rid of that, in that if you're knock up or knockback immune, you don't get picked up by it. But it also seems like even if you're not immune, you can still just kind of do stuff. Like
yeah.
people are reporting being able to jump or dash or ult out of the Xing Chen ult after you've been picked up.
Something I
And,
read
and
on the
that's
Reddit,
crazy.
or on Twitter rather, is apparently when he ulted in Smite 1, you got stunned while in the ult. Like you couldn't do
Yes,
anything.
that makes sense.
Apparently
Yeah.
now you aren't stunned. your character is just forced into this animation, meaning you could still fire CC immunity abilities. So like if you have an ult with CC
Yeah.
immunity, like a Scylla ult or honor ult, something like this, you can apparently now. I haven't seen it, so I don't know if it's just like a one-off bug on one character or if it's throughout every character. But if you ult with a CC immune ult while inside Xing Tian ult, you just get dropped on the ground like you would if you beadsed.
It's not right. It's like wrong. Like Xing Tian, like you said, Xing Tian's a relatively early god, right? Like first 50%, right? I think you could call him early. Um, And I don't remember a time where it's like, oh man, Xing Tian's so OP, so ridiculous, right? He was pretty much never that. There were definitely times where, particularly in solo lane, you could say, oh, you just put Xing Tian in, and he just kind of doesn't lose, right? Like you can't aggress onto him because he'll ult you into tower. You can't really like counter him because you can just run away. So it's like, okay, like you can't really dominate him in lane or everything. But he was never this powerhouse must be banned type of god. I don't, at least not in my memory.
I think there was a brief time when he was very oppressive in solo lane, but he was never a long-standing oppressive god. Yeah,
it would be like, oh, this item plus ability combination is just nuts right now. So, sort of like how we see with Raven in the past, where sometimes they can just get out of control. Again, Xing Tian generally not like considered one of the strongest gods in Smite's history, right? And that was with him functioning better, right? Having this grab in the ult. If you don't have that grab in the ult in Smite 2, nobody's going to play him. Absolutely nobody's going to play him. Imagine, like, I'm already cooking up ideas. If I had a competitive set today against Xing Tian in current form, I'm going, all right, if I'm going to get Xing Tian, if I'm playing a god that's going to get Xing Tian ulted frequently, and I'm playing support, I'm picking up a Scepter of Dominion. Why? Because as soon as he ults me, I'm dropping a Scepter on the floor.
Yeah.
It'll, like, I don't even have to preempt it. I can just wait and time it that way. It's not how the god's meant to work. And, yeah, I think I'll touch on this later. Like we talked about how he's similar to Ares. I think Ares is the same way. Is if you make the ult just not work, no one will ever play the god because the rest of the kit is fine, but it's balanced around the ult being good. And if the ult's not good, the rest of the kit has to be low. Just no one's going to play the god. And we don't want, particularly at this stage of Smite, gods to be added that are just throwaway. Like, okay, Xing Tian's in the game now. Shut up, everyone. You can play him if you want to. He's terrible though. Like we don't want that right now.
Yeah, I think Xing Tian is probably like he should be the linchpin of how do we make Smite 2 a smoother experience than Smite 1 while still keeping all of the good things, Right now, he's not a smoother experience. His ult can't pick up minions, so you can get body blocked by minions. his ult wind up is different. Apparently his 2, the root range is bigger than his ult range when he slams down on his 2. So I think this is a perfect opportunity for Hi-Rez to show what Unreal Engine 5 can do in terms of smoothness. This character is such a fluid character if used that way. Like if you can make him smooth, he will be smooth. Right now, he is clunky. He is Smite 1 on Unreal Engine 2 type of clunky. Like, and Smite 1 was built on Unreal Engine 3, for those who don't know. But so right, like you want this character out of any other character other than you have the Susanos and like these very high APM assassins. You want the same thing. ESET even, which was something we'll talk about later. But like Xing Tian, great opportunity for Hi-Rez. Show us now what Unreal Engine 5 can do. Hopefully do some quick quality of life as well as like hot fixes to make this character into the smoothest experience of all time, because that is why you moved engine, right? It's to make these kind of characters that were clunky in Smite 1 into a smooth and fun experience for everyone, which it currently isn't.
Yeah. I think you kind of nailed it there, right? Like we've already got, gods like Susano, and Susano feels smooth. Susano feels good and has for a long time. You think lots of other gods where you can really sort of weave in these sort of auto attacks and all that. Thor feels really good right now. Lots of gods just feel good. How did this one come through, right? Like how did it come through? So it's not poorly. It's not like the god is terrible and all that and everything. But there's just a few things that are wrong that should be fixed. Like this isn't like buff. Like don't buff. It's not buffing Xing Tian. It's making him function
it's not about the
correctly.
Numbers.
Yes, yeah, it's none of that. It's all about it has to function right. Even little things, right? Like the minions being grabbed, that is a like very rarely did that actually matter, right? Like, when is that ever really going to make a difference? But one time where it does make a difference, let's say you're playing dual lane, you got a Xing Tian support, and you're being so crushed that your ADC is being zoned from the wave. Hey, you can throw your Xing Tian up there, get him to pick up the wave and throw it to your ADC.
Yeah.
That is such a specific use case, but the fact that that has just been taken out is wrong. We shouldn't be doing that. We did this a few times in Smite 1. I remember some examples like Sylvanas, when he was relatively new, was ridiculously strong. And one of those reasons is because his 2 could actually hit minions. Like, it healed your own minions and it damaged the enemy minions. To balance Sylvanas, eventually they just took that out. Well, Smite 2 comes around, let's put it in. Let's balance around it. Let's make these gods as strong as possible, right? It's a game about gods. They're not supposed to be like, oh yeah, but they can't do that. Like, they can't pick them. No, they're gods. It's Xing Tian. This guy has a head for a chest.
Yeah, that's what you want to see from these. You want to feel powerful,
exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And
yeah.
I think another thing you could, like a very specific example, but I think it happens more often than you would think, is you jump in with Xing Tian into a wave to hit the enemy dual lane or whatever. Yep. And then if minions just surround you because the melees target you or whatever, because you hit the enemy god, if you then ult, you're never going to be in range because your wind-up is so big. Like, you're never going to be in range to actually hit the enemy dual lane. And it just feels bad. Like, that. Those are the kind of things that is... It's not a nerf that you would even want the character to ever have, because it's like the opposite of quality of life. It's it's a horrible thing to experience. Another thing you could use his throwing minions for is actually, and I think this was used more than throwing the minions at your hunter, is throwing the minions out of tower while your teammate, your ADC, is getting tower dove, because then the tower starts targeting your enemies.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It's like, again, we have, like, we were talking about this last week. We have just come up with it like that. Here's 2 uses for this little thing. We are not sat around a design team talking about why this could be useful, right? It feels like an oversight. In which case, that's fine, right? Like, again, they are crunched for time, no doubt. Right now, it is going to be like, all right, Xing Tian, does he function? Yeah, cool. Get him out, and then we're working on the next job, right? I can understand that that's the situation he's finding themselves in. I just hope that, as we discussed, it's not about, they need to redo Xing Channel. It's none of that. Just, I hope these little changes are things that are fixed. It may preferably sooner rather than later, but if not, at least on a list and be like, all right, before Smite comes out, we're gonna fix all these little things, just to make it, again, make it feel good, make it feel like Smite 2, not just Smite 1 again, right? Or worse in some cases, right? I just hope that this is something that is not being overlooked, and that's why I think it's worth us talking about it. So it's not just no one cares anyway, so why would we change that? No, people care. I want to play Xing Tian, and I wanted to do all the things he did in Smite 1 plus more. We never talked about adding -1s to gods, right? So let's get rid of that right now. Let's not let that happen. Let's make sure, at the very least, right, if a god gets ported in, again, assuming they want to be ported in pretty much exactly the same, not gods like, let's say, Persephone, who will probably have some kind of rework. Let's make sure they at least do Smite 1 stuff first. Then we start adding stuff, because that's how it was in the original Smite 2 cast, right? You think when Anhur was added, like was revealed, it was, look, he's Anhur again, but now Desert Fury looks like this. Cool, more of that. I know they don't have the time in the same way, but it needs to at least be the base. I think is where I sort of want to round this out of, like, hey, Xing Tian's not been that good because he's not even as good as Smite 1 Xing Tian, so why should I play him in Smite 2?
I've been laughing to myself while you've been talking, because I started the podcast saying, we'll start being more positive towards Iris, and then immediately with the first topic is just, you guys suck at your jobs, by the way. Like, we're sitting there and we could do a better job. No, but seriously, great job, Hi-Res. I know the focus isn't on quality right now, but, and this is the next topic, I'm going to change around our topics a little bit, Judas, because this just, like, segues real good into that. Quality over quantity, or quantity over quality. We know that the Hi-Res's position right now is they want quantity of content in Smite 2, and then at some point in the future they'll start looking at quality. Do you think this is a good approach? Should we continue with this, like, because on the about to pop up on the screen here, like we saw a few weeks ago, this Xing Tian bug, like, somehow made it into live, by the way. Like, not PTS, live. You just
Live
could pick
client.
Xing Tian. And I don't know. At some point, like, yes, they want to pump out as much content because everyone wants the Smite 2 to be Smite 1, right? You want Smite 1 with extra stuff. And
Yes,
right now,
yes.
we are missing Smite 1 characters, we're missing Smite 1 features. So, when, if not already, do you think they should start focusing on more of the qualitative stuff within the game?
I think I'm gonna go a bit realistic here rather than over what I feel. Well, maybe I'll do a bit of both, but I think as a flaw, like as a total minimum, they can't consider this Smite 2 until every Smite 1 god is ported over, aside from ones that they've decided they are not porting over, right? Again, discussions of Persephone being completely changed up. So
Yeah.
maybe they decide we are just not putting this god through because we can't figure out a way to get it done quickly, right? So I think until then, it is just going to be churning out a quality because the way that Smite 2 has gone as a life cycle, and it's been discussed that right, they can survive like this. This is like a functioning game. They could carry on exactly like this forever, and yeah, there we go. That's not really what anyone wants. Obviously, they want to
Yeah.
kind of hit the lottery a little bit, right? And the way you do that is, like I said, churning out quantity, getting all the gods in, so that you can at some point bring everyone back all at once. Because right now, I cannot see anyone picking up Smite 2 and just loving it for the first time, right? I don't see how. It's not that the game is bad. It's that the new player experience is pretty tough, and there's so many rapid changes that you might pick the game up, play it twice. Like, oh, I quite enjoyed that. Then 3 weeks later, you're like, oh yeah, I remember Smite 2. I'll play it again, and everything's different. Like all the
Yeah.
items look different, gods feel different, and everything. There's 2 new gods in the game. There's new aspects in the game. It's very, very hard to be into if you're not keeping up with it, and also with it not being like 100% functional at all times. We discussed recently about how certain patches, right? There's items that don't work. This god's been disabled. These 4 gods have been disabled, right? Things like that happening is not really good. Like, imagine if you picked up the game the week that 4 gods were disabled and everyone was crashing in the lobbies, right? Like, just imagine you pick up. You're not coming back, right? So they're
Hecate
at a
was
point where
disabled
they
this week, by the way. Just want to throw that
really.
out there. Yeah.
There we go. Like
Right after the
if
patch.
I was a new player coming into this, I wouldn't be able to look at this and be like, "Oh, this is my game." Not when there's so many options, right? Whereas if
Yeah.
you pick up Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, Counter Strike 2, these games just work. I know they're fully released and Smite 2 isn't and everything, but like even something like Deadlock doesn't feel like it has these same issues like that. It does have issues with things like gods characters getting out of control or whatever, and certain builds being OP and everything. That's just usual for a particularly new game. Whereas Smite 2 just it has functional issues. It's not even particularly unbalanced, right? We've had some issues
Yeah.
with like Aladdin in the hands of a skilled player can be kind of nuts, right? Fine. Outside of that, there's never a god on the other team. Oh, they've picked that god. Oh, there we go. That's the end of the game. Like, there's no one god in one role that's just ridiculous in general, right? Every
Yeah.
now and then, someone slides up through like the tier list, but in general, like most gods are playable. You know, I played a ranked game the other night where, funny enough, Hecate was being played as my ADC, which I was a bit mad about because why would you play Hecate ADC? You can play anyone else ADC, and it's
Yeah.
pretty good in Smite 2. As it happens, we won that game, believe it or not. But still, it's besides the point. Maybe you can play Hecate ADC, who knows? But Smite 2 is generally very balanced. If you're a new player, very balanced doesn't really appeal to you. You want to be able to pick your god in your game, and you want like the game to work. And right now, it doesn't do that. And that's the quality that you're talking about, right? If they sacrificed quantity now, though, there will be people who just never come back. Oh, my god's not in the game. I'm not coming back. You know, there are still gods on the list to be introduced that would be very popular, right? And some that are, in my opinion, not actually that many. Like, I look at the list, there's like, what, 30, 40 gods left or something. It's less than 40. But not all of those are gods I really want back in the game. Plenty of them I'm like, I could do without them, right? Like I love playing Kubakana. Nobody is sat there crying out for Kubakana right now.
We're on 87 gods right now, 88 with Kokolin coming out.
And it was
in a couple
130 for Smite 1, I
I
think.
think so, something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think
it's
Nuke
about
was,
50,
130.
40 gods left. So, do you think... Because the reason I bring this up is because I saw on
Yeah.
Reddit a couple days ago, maybe even last week, that someone who is an ESET main clearly really skilled with ESET. They have a high APM, actions per minute, for those who don't know that term. So they click their buttons real fast. And what you could do with ESET in Smite 1 is, this is the example the Reddit user used, so that's what I'm going to bring up. But it applies to pretty much every character and a lot of characters in Smite 2 in different ways. But you could throw your spirit ball, and then within 1 frame, throw out your ult. So your circle of protection, your ESET ult, goes on the ground. Spirit ball comes out, it goes on the ground, and then you could pop them interchangeably. You know?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you could do like that. That's how you do your biggest combo: is throw, ult, pop. Either both or stun, then ult.
Yeah, just
or,
pop. Yeah.
And you could do this like bang, 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 super quick.
Yeah.
And he showed a clip. Like, he literally had Smite 1 and Smite 2 open at the same time. And he tabbed to Smite 1, did it, tapped to Smite 2, and you could hear the classic Smite sound. The like ding, 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 when you press an ability that's off cooldown or that you can't use. And yeah, when these kind of things happen, like if I'm an ESET main, and ESET's my only character, that's the only reason or main reason I play Smite. And I know that Smite 1 is kind of dead or dying, and Smite 2 is where the cool kids are at. I want to jump over to Smite 2. ESET just got released, or a few weeks ago. I jump in, I play the character that I love the most, and it's not the same character. To me, I'm afraid, at least, that might bring these, like you said, people are coming back. I'm afraid that they'll come back, see that what state their favorite character and the whole game, the game as a whole, is in, and then think, nah, this project's doomed, I'm not going to stick around for this, and then find their new favorite game. Because that is the current game landscape, is people have a main game. Like, there's a small percentage out there. I mean, I'm talking PC gaming right now. I don't know about console gaming. I don't know about mobile gaming, which apparently is bigger now than all the other gamings combined. The mobile game, like Candy Crush type shit, you know. But for PC gaming, what most people do, like I think it's 30%. The last I heard is like 30 to 40% are casuals who play whatever, and they might also have a main game, but they play it super casually. And then there's a percentage that only plays, first-person shooters. There's a percentage that only plays MOBAs, whatever. But what people usually do is they have their main game, and the main game might switch over time, but it might be Minecraft. Like, Minecraft's main game. And then when Peak, this friend type of game, friend slop as it's called, comes out, I try that, I have fun, couple weeks with Peak, and then we're back to Minecraft. And then the Counter-Strike people, we're playing Counter-Strike, Deadlock comes out, okay, I'll give that a try. Couple weeks in, you know what? Back to Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
And so I'm afraid that the Smite mainers, or whatever you want to call them, the ESET mains, come in, see that ESET is not ESET in Smite 2, and think, I gotta find a new game, because I've been waiting for, how many years has it been now? 2 years since they announced and officially launched the alpha, I think, for Smite. It's been over 2 years. And they, like, if I was an ESET main, like, ESET was a relatively recent addition to Smite 2. I think it was last year, end of last year, no?
I think it's been a little bit longer than that. It feels like a year at this point, but yeah.
Okay, let's say a year. But
the game for a bit.
If I was a Smite 1 player, only Smite 1, I see Smite 2 is announced, I tried alpha, or I can't afford to try the alpha because that was paid. In the beginning, and then the beta comes out. I try the beta. ESET's not in there. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll go back to Smite 1 where I can play my ESET character. I play ESET in Smite 1. I see the queue timers go up. The player numbers dwindle slowly but surely. This game is like, okay, fuck. Okay, I'll go to Smite 2. Fine. You go to Smite 2, play that for a little bit. They announce ESET. Oh my god, I'm so happy. I can play ESET again. Yep. ESET gets released. And it's not ESET. It's not what you want ESET to be, what you've had ESET be. And like for Xing Tian now, what Xing Tian mains are probably thinking, this is not my character. And then you stick around for a year, hoping that, when does the quality of life update come to my character? I'm seeing they're buffing Ares, they're nerfing Aphrodite, they're removing anti-heal, and I'm sitting there like, oh, if I can play E-Sit with no anti-heal in the game, I'll be so good. And then it just never happens. You just have to sit here and wait for Hi-Rez to release every single god, which, if they continue on their 2 gods a week,
I got every 2 weeks.
I got every 2 weeks. That's 2 years. There's 52 weeks, and 1 every 2, and we have around 50 gods or 40 gods left.
Yeah.
That's
but at least a year and a half.
At least
that,
a year and a half.
Assuming they stick to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's assuming they stick to it. And then after those 2 years, that's when I get to play E-Sit as I want.
Yeah,
brother. Like if I was that E-Sit main and you really didn't find Smite 2 as fun, I would probably at this point jump ship and find a different game. Luckily for me and for a lot of people, and hopefully this guy, I assume this guy on Reddit as well, because he is around to post this video, right?
Yes, yeah.
These are the small little things, so they don't matter as much. But we even talked about it a little bit on the couple episodes ago, where we touched on the Chris TD video.
Yeah.
Where at some point they have to shift focus. I don't know how many gods in that is, because there's a Freya, there's a Hel, there's a Martikris, and for me, I get not for you, but for me, Charybdis is like characters that they need something to change with them, and if they can't do that during those 2 weeks that they've given themselves. So are we expected to find that at some point they're just going to pause production of new gods and just say, hey, there's like 20 gods left. From now on, we will release 1 every month. With every 3 months or so will be a completely new god. Something like this. What do you think about all this? I've been monologuing for so long.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it will switch to that at some point. I do think that seems to be the attitude. Obviously, I'm talking hypothetically, like, I don't think the community will accept it when they do that. It will happen that way, right? Like, I can see us, episode 106 of the podcast, we're like, all right, Hi-Rez have finally announced they're switching
I hope we get that far.
to focus on quality, right? And that'll come, but like you say, they have to survive this part, right? Like there are tons of examples of these little things. Like, good example for me, my favorite god from Smite 1, Naja. Outed myself a little bit. There we go. Naja sort of main. I really like that god. It was added in Smite 2 quite late, it's been a couple of months now, but I was playing Smite 2 the whole time without, my favorite god, basically. And when they were finally added, I was so excited to play Naja. And there's one thing that's different about Smite 2 Naja that I really hate, that's not like a balance fix, or at least doesn't feel like it. Naja takes damage during the travel time of the sash now, right?
Did it not do that? I thought it was just untargetable, but you could still take like dot damage and stuff. No.
Yeah, so you would take dot damage and stuff.
Okay.
But you couldn't have new damage applied to you. Whereas now, if there's a Kukulkan and you try to sash them and they ult you get hit. But you get hit by the ult on the way to the Kukulkan. At the very least, that's how it worked at the start. I haven't played Naja much in a while. I wonder why. But there was lots of little tech. The reason I like Naja, I'll go into this a little bit more later, is there was lots of like tech things you could do. Like little, if you knew the god really well, you could do little things. Like a big example I will give. Let's say you're being Sobek ulted, right? And the Sobek's fully charging his ult. It'll definitely kill you. You could sash the CC immune Sobek. Even if you timed it right, you'd be mid-air when the ult came off.
Yep.
You don't take the damage because you're technically mid-air. Whether that's a choice to get rid of it or not, I don't know, to sort of balance it. But Naja didn't need that, right? Like, that was a nice thing that Naja did. It wasn't like, oh, this god's so broken, doesn't get hit during the sash. Like, no, that was kind of fine. It's the rest of the god that you might have a problem with, right?
Yeah.
And little things like that. Again, you might come back to play your main, and there's just that one favorite little detail that they had, and it's gone now. Presumably, again, my only assumption is that the designers porting these gods over are, not the designers from the original game, right, who originally put them into the game, because that was a long time ago, and it is an entirely different dev team now. But then, because they're not the original developers, but they're not long-time Smite players, they don't know these intricacies, so they just don't put them in. They don't go there because I didn't even know you could do that. Well, I knew I could do that, and yeah, this is where there's that little disconnect I feel between the community and the developers right now, and it's not the fault of the developers.
Yeah.
It is just a new team because of the
I
circumstances
also think
surrounding
it's
the
a
game.
product of the timeline they have with everything being a
Yes.
2 week, crunch. Every 2 weeks is crunch.
Hmm.
Or, I mean, it's constant crunch, but every 2 weeks you gotta get
Yes.
something out. Like, if
Gotta get it
I'm
out.
the lead designer or whatever, I don't have time to play the game. Like,
Yeah. You're not playing Smite 1 a ton, yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
And you definitely not, like, you're not playing Smite 2 that much, and you're definitely not going back to Smite 1. But, like, maybe you have this, that should be in their pipeline. I hope that they go back to Smite 1, see how the character was, what
Play how
kind
it
of
was,
things,
yeah.
then, make it into Smite 2. But they probably have some kind of way to do that. To switch gears a little bit, there was an announcement that Kilgoon made on the Titan Talk that the lore lady is no longer with us, so to speak. Like, she's alive. Sorry, that sounded like she died. The voice actor for Nut, as well as all of these, like, this Smite God reveal for
Yeah.
Kumbhakarna or whatever,
Yeah.
I can't mimic her voice, but she got a contract with the SAG-AFTRA, SAG-AFTRA, which, for those who don't know, is the union for mostly in America, but they cover globally for the most part, for actors, voice actors, anyone that is on the radio or television, movies, these kind of things. And once you join this union, it's a union. So
Yes.
people look after each other, type of thing. Like, it's in the contract that if you get hired to do something, then the people hiring you have to hire you through the union, meaning you have to get a union contract, and in that contract stipulates a certain kind of things. Why don't you tell us why this is a big deal for Smite, and why the lore lady is no longer with us due to this?
Yeah, so there's a similar thing, like you say. It's the SAG-AFTRA union is the one that you normally see for American production. So the SAG-AFTRA is the Screen Actors Guild American Federation. They basically they set a floor, is the way to describe it, for what a contract entails, right? So it must pay this much. It must be, for example, for voice actors, your studio time must be at maximum 4 hours at a time. It must be. There'll be lots of things like that. You can't be called to, like, oh, you can't work at 3 a.m. to do your voice acting.
Yeah.
It's got to be at, like, a reasonable time. Now, just because it's like a union thing and there are flaws, a lot of these things are like industry standard anyway, right? Like, let's say you had a voice actor going for longer than 4 hours, their performance is not going to be that good anyway. So it's not like, oh, if it's non-union, they just treat them like dirt and everything's bad about it, right? Like, but the voice actress for Newt and the Law Lady obviously at some point joined SAG-AFTRA. Now, funnily enough, Nickel, she might have been part of SAG-AFTRA before Smite 2. So the way that it sort of works is she would have had this non-union contract to do the Law Lady voice, and that contract likely stipulated that it was like a long-term rolling thing. So if she then became union, well, this contract already existed, so she doesn't have to scrap it, right? So I don't know exactly the timeline, obviously, but it's not necessarily that the union changed now. It could be that it happened at any point, but right now, again, with the movement from Smite 1 to Smite 2, contracts have to be redone and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, her current deal had gone. I did actually want to touch on
her
so
name,
the
real quick, by the way, just so
Oh,
people
yeah?
don't know, is Suhaila El Attar Young. I hope I pronounced that right. I saw the video on screen.
I didn't
right
even
now
want to try.
before.
Yeah.
And I think that's how she pronounced it. She is obviously, for those who don't know, if you are new to Smite and you're a Smite 2 only player, she was kind of the voice of every new cinematic like reveal of the new gods. They had like this
Yep.
little nebulous kind of not cinematic, but it was like an animation of showing the new gods, like teasing them without actually showing what the gods are. And then when the gods actually were being released, she walked you through. She had like the voice walking you through the abilities and
Yep.
what you might do in a team fight. There's certain things, and she also told you the lore, hence the name Lore Lady. So she had like a quick snippet where she tells you, oh yeah, Naja was this Lotus Prince, and he did all these kind of things, and he had sashes and rings and woo. Yeah. So yeah, sorry, I just want to,
No, yeah,
make
get it in.
make sure her name is out there because she's obviously a great big figure within the Smite scene, and she shouldn't be forgotten, even though she's no longer
Yeah.
going to be a part of.
And I think that feeds it well into why she's not coming back, right? So, like I said, she had a contract with Hi-Rez or Smite or whatever, and now for whatever reason does not. Again, we don't know the intricacies. We don't need to know the intricacies, right? It's people to her career and everything. But it was asked about on a Titan Talk action, and I think it was Hindu Man who basically said no, because Smite will use the decision made a long time ago to use non-union voice actors. Now, we've talked about the good things of a union, right, and what it does. Yeah. And funny enough, unions exist everywhere. Obviously, SAG-AFTRA is the big one, but there are actually other ones. So, for example, in the UK, we would have Equity is the actors union, that at least the top one that I found. Funny enough, Nickel, there is also, and I did a little bit of research, but there is also one for the Norwegian actors. Do you have any idea what that is?
No, I didn't know. I mean, I should definitely get on that because I'm playing in the new Lord of the Rings. I don't know if you know this. No, I'm not. But yeah. What is it called?
So I'm gonna try and butcher some Norwegian here. Ready? Not only am I gonna try and read it, I'm gonna read it from all the way over there while leaning into my microphone. So it is apparently Norsk Skuespillerforbund, which I believe translates to Norwegian Actors' Equity Association.
Yeah, I would remove the equity part if you were to directly translate. But yeah, it's just that.
But like I said. Yeah, there are these groups everywhere for good reason, right? Yeah, you want to make sure and you want to make sure that actors everywhere are treated to the same sort of standard, because it's not that everyone gets treated like Tom Cruise, but it's that the littlest guy doesn't get treated like trash all the time. You want to make sure there's at least a low standard. But if you are a aspiring voice actor, if you are non-union, you can be paid a lower rate. You can be given different roles. And you might want this because if someone has 10 years of voice acting experience and is in the union, and you have no years of voice acting experience, you need some kind of edge on those guys, right? You need a reason to be hired over the more experienced ones. And that's where the non-union contracts come in. You sort of negotiate your own pay, your own terms and everything. There will be standards, right? It won't just be like, we're getting a new voice actor for Newt. Yeah, we're going to pay them nothing because we had to pay the other one a lot, so we're going to pay you nothing. No, it won't be like that. There will be flaws and everything. And at the end of the day, if you don't like the contract offer, you can reject it, is part of the thinking. But it means that anyone could be recruited to be a voice actor for Smite, which is really cool. Nickel, you or I could be the voice of a god because we're not part of the union. We don't have to be. As long as someone sounds right, they can pull them in to do it.
A good what's it called? Example of this are all of the announcer packs.
Exactly what I was going to touch on. Yeah, I believe that with the way that SAG-AFTRA works, unions have to be aggressive, right? They have to be.
I mean, they gotta be.
Yeah, you can't just go, we'll just let that one slide, or we'll just let this go by. No. That's not how unions work. You don't do it that way. You want to make sure that you are always pushing for the benefit of your group, the people who you're representing. So I actually believe that if Smite used union voice actors and everything, they would not be able to have these announcer packs of just regular staff members and developers. I also think, depending on how the sort of structure of the company is laid out, it might also apply to casters, and that they might not be able to just pull in, your favorite amateur league caster and just get them in for a tournament. There is a chance that it would come into it. Not that I guarantee that it would, but I imagine that the high-res legal department say, don't even take the chance. Because that's how legal departments work, right? You don't want to mess with a union.
From the little research I did, I don't think it extends to casters because they would be freelancers. But for and also for any of the already recorded stuff is fine to have in the game.
Yes.
But anything going forward from the moment you have one union actor, anything going forward, because what the research I found, how it's worded is project. If the project is a union project, it's It's just it can only be unions
Yeah.
around it, and a project can't just be a character within a game. It's the game,
Yes. Yeah.
and I
It,
think
it
the
does actually
esports
go
part is
backwards.
yeah, the esports part I think is and a bubble outside of that. So I don't
Yes,
know. I don't
I
think
would
the
hope so.
casters would be, and if they were, I think they would fight that to some extent.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a non-union project. But if it becomes a union project, right? Let's say they hire in some star voice actor to voice like Cthulhu or whatever. They want to make a big splash. Um, Everything then has to be union. So every god currently in the game would then have to be redone with a union voice actor. It is like if you are non-union, record your voice and then become union, that's fine because it's in the past. If the project becomes union, everything has to be union as well,
Wait,
which is
retroactively, are you saying?
yeah. If they again, you can so like how Law Lady, you can be in the game as Newt because that was recorded pre-union contract. Where if they brought her in to do something else in the game, everything has to now become union. Which is why they're
Wow.
absolutely not going to do that. Because you can't mix and
Yeah.
match, right? Because you couldn't be able to renegotiate your like Thanatos voice, right? Like, well, I wasn't paid union standard. Oh well, no, sorry, but the rest are no. You can't use my voice unless I'm paid union standard now. Is how it would end up going. So yeah, they cannot
No, but
go
how
to
I thought
union at this stage.
it was. I mean, you know more about this than me, so this might just be a misconception I had. But I thought it was anything that's already been recorded is fine, but anything new added, any content, any DLC, it even said on the thing I read, can't be after one union contract has been signed. Any future content can't be non-union.
My understanding, again, we'll
Or
check just
can't
because we're
be.
not total
Yeah.
experts, but what the way I understood it was a project is non-union until it is union, but the individual can be non-union or union. You can be actually a SAG-AFTRA union member, and you can work as non-union.
Yeah.
So you could choose to, okay, this is a non-union project. I am going to, it gets a bit messy, and I think it's not like commonly done, but you can renegotiate your contract to be non-union, to work on a non-union project. But there's even been instances that I've seen where, so for example, there's let's say me and you, Nickel, we want to make a movie together. You're a big movie star. You've been in movies before. I'm just up and coming. You want to help me out, so you want to come be in my movie. So me and you make a movie. I get some of my friends in, and I hire them. I pay them like $100. We make a short little movie together. Cool. Um, we can't release that movie unless the friends that I hired are also paid as union. If you were union,
Yeah, I think
because even though you were like coming down, it still requires every single person to be union standard.
I think that is something I read. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but you can basically negotiate as a one-off deal that
Yes.
anyone that is in the union on this project will be like an honorary member for this only project. They're not part of the union
Yes.
after this project, but just during that project, it's as if they were a part of the union. But I think, and again, you know more than me. But for a movie or an ongoing show where every new episode is a is new content, it works differently than if it's a live service game that new content is added on top of the already existing content. I mean, I would at least hope there is, but I can understand that it might not be because as a union, you would obviously want
They would fight it.
yeah, you want as much power over this project as possible so that you can make sure your workers are all treated equally. So you might as well just go in there and say, "Hey, if you want this guy, you're going to have to hire all of our other guys." Cuz we,
Yeah.
look out for each other type thing.
It's pretty much how it goes. To be honest, it is. Again, I know the SAG-AFTRA union is known to be quite powerful. You might remember Nickel way back when we're just little kiddies. I think it's around 2009. There was a Screen Actors Guild union strike, 2009, 2011, somewhere around there. And there were movies that came out those days that the writers were on strike, so they had like the producers write them, and those movies and shows all just tanked. I think Iron Man 2 is one of the most famous ones that starts really well and then just goes, "What the hell's going on?" Because all the writers were on strike, and basically they've proven their power. Yeah. Nowadays we got AI.
Producer these days would be like, "Fuck the writers, I can write this shit up." Give me Iron Man and make it part 2, and don't make it bad. There you go. Then it's gonna come out as a masterpiece. Yeah.
But what it basically comes down to is, if Hi-Rez started using union actors, there would definitely be more complications, right? It would be more expensive. It will be much more, again, the standards they'd have to go to. Not to say that they are nowhere near those standards, right? But they would still have to reach a certain standard, and they might not be capable of that, particularly financially right now. So even though Law Lady is great and everyone likes Law Lady and everything, and it would be nice to have that continue on, it causes so many more issues that it is just not viable, basically. And it's, like I said, it's a shame, because it would be nice to have an exception and everything. And like I said, it technically does exist that you can have that exception, but I would understand not wanting to sort of ruffle any feathers with the union and not making that happen.
I think for these exceptions, even, it's more paperwork and more money and more administration work than it's ever going to be worth.
Yes, yeah. And again, Smite 2 is budding, it's growing. It doesn't have the backing to just drop a bunch of money to make sure that Law Lady gets back in the game, right? As much as it's nice, it would be cool. I'm sure, sure she'd want to do it. I'm sure Hi-Rez would like her back. But there is more to it, unfortunately. But I wanted to bring this up because I think that was sort of seen as a point. It was just kind of like a passing point, right, in like a summary of the Titan Talk of just Heine Ben saying, "Oh, yeah, no, we're only using non-union actors," right? And that can cause a lot of bit of like a reaction to people, right? Like, "Oh, we're using non-union. It must be because you're trying to do all these horrible things." Like, there was a scandal a couple of years ago. I want to say it was 3 years ago. It was I think it was before Smite 2 was really announced. Good old Stuart Chisholm, and remember that guy? There was a big debate on Twitter where it was revealed that the voice acting contracts for if you were voicing a god or a skin in Smite 1, there was like a little clause which basically said, and this is a much simplified version, right? I'm not going into the legal spiel or quoting it or anything. But what it basically said was a voice actor will record their part. Let's say you record all the voice lines, all the jokes, taunts for your god. And then for whatever reason, the voice actor is unavailable again. Like they just can't come back to the country. They lose their voice. They die, right? Any reason, they can't come back to re-record things where maybe they've decided, oh, we don't want the joke to have this punchline. We want it to have that punchline. If they then needed to make a change, there is the capability for them to edit the voice via AI to then recreate what they wanted. And it was this huge fuss because people don't like AI, Nicola. If you haven't noticed, it's come up a couple of times. People don't like AI, and I understand why.
Check out our first episode. We talked about
AI. I just, but there was what I would consider a bigger fuss than that, because one thing that Stuart Chisholm actually said, and that guy was wrong about a lot of things. Sometimes he was right, though. I will, give him room when he does get it right. He basically said this clause exists because it's written up by the legal department, whose entire job is to cover your ass, right? That is what a legal department does. It thinks of every possible scenario that could go wrong and then make sure that the company is protected from that. One of those things will be if you've invested probably a few $100s in someone recording a voice pack, and then you can't release it, that's a problem. Now, what are you going to do? You can't sue the voice actor, right? Again, they might have literally died. Like, they might actually not be able to pay you back. So then you have to come up with some other way that, okay, how would we protect this investment? And the way they did it is via that AI clause. Now, apparently, they never actually used this clause either. They never had to. It never came up. So, I don't want people to overreact. Oh, here we go, Nicole. Hit me.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just saying, like, but what did you guys do before AI was a thing?
That's true. I wonder what they did do. I wonder if they had paid someone else.
Surely they had a clause back then too, but it was different. And they might still have the different clause. They just have added the tacked on the AI clause. But I think the just the landscape of AI and the distrust people have to,
Yeah.
especially these bigger corporations in gaming and in movies, Hollywood, all this, of the distrust that you won't actually misuse or abuse this power in any way. Why even add it? Why even have? Yes, I know
Yeah.
the legal department is gonna do all they can, but they could also write like, yeah, and if you die, we also are allowed to get everything you own. But you don't write that because that is stupid, evil, and why would anyone agree to it? Same thing here. I think you mentioned the Screenwriters Guild. They also in 2024 or 2023 strike
Yeah.
as well,
Somewhere in there. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
and they strike because of AI. So not only in 2009, and they did this because, like I mentioned before, if you're a producer and your writer starts saying, "Hey, I need some more money," you just say, "Well, I can pay AI like $20 and he'll write up a full script for me. So why would I ever need you?" The reason why these unions exist is to protect from these kind of things, and
Yeah.
it's because people in the past and just history in general, if you have power, you are going to use it. It's just, sadly, the temptation is too big. People are going to
Yeah.
use it and they're going to abuse it, especially if it gains is beneficiary for them. Hi-Rez might not be the evil company. The first thing that comes to mind for me is like an EA would jump on this
Oh
immediately,
yeah.
right? And Hi-Rez might not be like that, but if you, especially as an indie company, you want to come off as the people's champion kind of thing. You want to have
Yes. Yes.
close-knit community. You want to be, think of how Riot built up their community thing. They had like weekly updates, and like we have now with the Titan Talks, where you can actually chat with the developers, with the lead designers, with these people, because that creates like a bond between the community, and then suddenly you hear this like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
the first thing we think of when someone we paid dies is how can we recuperate on that? No,
Yes.
I mean, yes, you're
Yeah.
not sitting there thinking that, but then again, even if your legal team had that thought, that means they have thought it at some point
Yes.
to put that in.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can understand why they did it. I would hope that they have removed that clause especially after seeing how the Screenwriters Guild's
Yeah.
strike and how much everyone hates the use of AI in gaming at all. But if they haven't, I mean, I can understand why they would keep it.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on after that though. One thing, the whole reason actually that this caught my eye is I didn't know that Smite actually used non-union actors because I have a special skill, Nicola. It's a
yeah.
very unique skill, and for some reason I'm very good at recognizing voice actors just by hearing their voice.
All right.
I don't know how I've come about this, but I could hear less about like actors' names because that can be quite tough. I know a few, but not all of them. But I could hear a voice from a character and be like, oh, that was also this guy in this show or game or whatever.
Yeah.
For some reason, I could just have this magical connection. And one of the voices that is particularly prominent is actually a guy I met. So this is a actor slash voice actor by the name of, I'm going to try and make sure I get this one right because this guy is kind of within the Smite community. This guy called Chris Tagliaferra, who is, yeah, good, is actually the voice actor for Set in Smite 1. I believe he also did spend some time actually playing Smite as well after that, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
Anyway, the thing I found really cool about this guy, I met him at a Comic-Con in my local city, is he just sounds like Set. You know when Set like Spawn, Sir, the guy sounds like that. He's not like putting on
with that, like, dark, deep voice.
Yeah. I had like a casual conversation with this guy, and he's like, "Got this crazy deep voice." I was like, "Whoa!" Like it doesn't look natural, right? But it's really cool. And I was like, "Hey, how come that guy is non-union, but he's not? He is union now but he actually, one of his first ever roles was as Set in Smite 1. So this guy went on to voice like some other characters, like he plays Muhammad Avdol in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 3, if anyone's aware of that. He was Sigma in Marvel vs. Capcom. That was Ultron Sigma as well. He played both of them. He's also been in other games, like he is Gundam Tanaka in Danganronpa 2, also presumably in Danganronpa 2+2 or 2x2, which is coming out soon. So this guy's gone on to have like a really in-depth voice acting career, and it came from being in Smite 1. Now, not that, Smite 1 made this guy and they could take the credit, but it's nice that they had this entryway. It's a good sort of first step for someone to take, and that's not possible if Smite 2 is a union project, right? You wouldn't be able to just walk your way into this type of thing. I would be very interested to find out what other games are like. I am 100% certain that Overwatch is a union project.
I'll guarantee.
Then you look at like League of Legends. Surely that's non-union, right? For how long it's been around.
I can't imagine it is. I can't imagine it is, because when they actually came out in 2009 or 2008 when they were building the game, there's no way they had the kind of pull to or the amount of money to support that. But maybe they made a change at some point, because I know for Riot in particular, Tencent, the Chinese company, bought a big chunk of it in 2012 or 10 even. Like they pretty early on they bought like a big chunk of Riot. So they might have at some point made some changes. But they don't have. Oh, actually, they do have a lot of voice lines now that I think about it. Because they don't have the
voice, the VGS system.
Yeah, not the
like
VGS
Smite,
system.
Right?
They don't. And every time you use an ability, it's just like grunting in League of Legends. It's like, hurrah! While in Smite is usually like, wind wave, wah! For a neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one thing I wanted to touch on. Yeah, the Actors Guild. I don't know the full anagram. What's it
SAG-AFTRA?
Is that also SAG-AFTRA? Of course it is. Why am I?
Yes.
We were thinking about the Writers Guild, so I was like mixing them up.
SAG-AFTRA.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I don't know how it is for voice actors, but for actors to be a part of the union, which is the big thing, is to become part of the union. To ever be a part of the union, you need a speaking line in a movie.
Yes.
To be eligible to join. For voice actors, I assume it's the same. I need to have had some kind of speaking role. Like my voice needs to have been heard by people before. Can't just be, my buddy in the basement making a game, and it's got to be by an official publisher or something.
Yeah.
And so there will never, I don't think, because this is the Hi-Rez, what their business model is. There will never be a lack of non-union voice actors, because there's always going to be new people who wants to become a part of the union, and like this I don't remember his name now, but
Chris Tugliafera.
Yeah, Chris, like Chris, ice cream. He maybe his initial goal was, okay, I got to get into the union if I want to start, being a part of TV shows, anime, Overwatch, these Marvel Rivals, Marvel vs. Capcom, sorry.
Yep.
So I got to start somewhere. Why not start with this indie company, Hi-Rez? And that's like the entry in. So I think for Hi-Rez to still be doing this, even though maybe at some point in Smite's lifetime they probably had enough money to go union, I think it's just a generally nice and good idea to keep it non-union, just to give people like this. Because Smite, even though it's like this little corner of itself in the internet, like this little gaming space for like a few thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, it's still semi-popular. Like it's talked about, it's heard throughout the ether that is the internet. I listen to some League of Legends podcasts just because I am interested in that esport after Smite's esport died. And they even mention Smite every now and then because they talk about like, oh, you have the big MOBAs, you know, you got Hearthstone, no, what's Heroes of
Heroes of the Storm, yeah.
Heroes of the Storm. You got Dota 2, you got League of Legends, and then they usually pause, and then they look at the camera and laugh a little bit, and then they say Smite,
Yeah,
and then and then they keep talking. But so people know about Smite, and it might be just like a good avenue for newer non-union voice actors just to get their foot in the door at least. All right. Do you have anything more you want to say on this?
No, I think we summed it up. I think it would be interesting to hear if anyone listening actually has any experience with this type of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I have a little bit of knowledge on this stuff. That is something I've personally been looking into. But these are complicated topics, right? I think it's worth bringing up because this is something we want to be informative on this podcast as best we can. But these are still topics that, unless you really know and like work in the industry, you're not going to know the ins and outs of all this. So I'd be interested to hear if there's an argument that Smite should be union. Like, yes, there are. We could see the benefits for all the voice actors and everything. But in general, is there a reason they should be union, right? Like that would be interesting to see. But if anyone has any knowledge of this, that would be really cool to hear about.
Yeah. Before anyone ever writes in the comments, yes, it should be union. Just remember, we got to recast every character.
Every single one. Yeah.
And
at least that's what we think.
Taking long, yeah, that's what we think. But if you think it's taking long now to get content into the game, Jesus Christ, imagine that, bro.
Not every god, every skin. Every
right.
every different voice, every single one, I believe. And again, there is the potential that it stems to the casters and everything, right? Yeah, that like there is a world where that happens.
They're just gonna start recording Hinduman as he sleeps or whatever for whatever noises he makes will be ability.
That's a new Xing Tian alt sound. There we go.
Yeah. Okay, to go back to Smite as a game, because we've been talking a lot about things around the game for a little bit now. We saw on the Reddit that someone were frustrated about the way Hi-Rez nerfed certain characters. Yep. They felt like, I think it was Kabrakin in this instance, that was nerfed in the wrong way in the most recent patch.
Yeah, they're wrong. Right. That's the quickest way I can put it.
Let's just attack the community. Why don't you?
Not Hi-Rez. I'm done taking aim on Hi-Rez. They're full of holes. Community time.
Listen up, that Redditor who gave us feedback. We're about to defend.
We're going on you. Yeah. We're getting you for this, right? So I'll quickly sum up the complaint and the discussion that was had. So it was the refraction shield for Kabrakin, that is the 2 that potentially slams twice. In Smite 2 actually has some healing attached to it, which I don't believe was in Smite 1, if I'm correct. I think that's like a +1. Yeah. Now it takes, I believe, a percentage of Kabrakin's max health per target, right? So you hit 6 minions twice because you hit the entire wave, you just sort of boom, boom, and you gain like probably 200-300 health, right? And that was recently nerfed, so the amount of health that it was has gone down per target and everything. What the complaint was is that, hey, this isn't the problem with Kabrakin. It's not the sustain he gets in lane. It's the fact that he can just kind of smack you with a bunch of abilities. Again, level 3 effectively has 4 abilities, which is not common. There will be, particularly when you see Kukulin coming around, that'll get up to 5. But yeah,
coming next
5 at level 2 on the next patch. But yeah, so right now, Kabrakin having 4 abilities at level 3 is pretty strong. It's the reason why he's such a lane bully. And yeah, they were just generally upset that they targeted the refraction shield healing. But the problem they've got is that, yes, the strongest parts of the kit are the fact he can kind of hit you with a stun, get 2 refraction shield shots on you. So between that's at least like 400 damage. And then he's obviously got the ground pound after that. Yeah, another stun included in that. And then just starts ground pounding after that. And probably does about half your health, right? Assuming no ultimate. That's just going to hurt. It doesn't matter who you are. Literally whatever god you're playing. Now, funny enough, this guy was playing specifically squishy characters in solo, which a lot of people have some strong feelings about, which I'll get back to in a moment. But Kabrakin shouldn't have the stun and the smash removed, because that is Kabrakin. If you tone those down so that they are pointless, similar to how we talked about Xing Tian earlier, what is the point of playing Kabrakan? If they can't get that stun, the sort of, it's about 5 seconds of aggro, right? Once all those cooldowns are down, Kabrakan doesn't do much. Those cooldowns are short. That is something that was brought up as well. He can do that pretty often. But that's the identity of the character. The sustain that is given through the refraction shield is great to allow him to continue doing that, right? If he starts doing that, your best bet is to just kind of blast him with damage. But if he is healing up again on the next wave and then can do it again to you, right? That's where you've got some issues. So nerfing the healing but keeping the damage output keeps Kabrakan as he is, but still makes him a bit worse, because we don't want a bunch of milquetoast characters who don't really do much of anything strong, but they're all kind of decent. We want guards who do this really well and this really poorly, which I think we'll get into a little bit later as well, but that's the crux of that nerf, right? And so we're talking about it, Nickel. It is right for them to do it this way, even though you understand why someone might feel like, at least on the surface, it doesn't seem quite right.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed this tiny bit before the podcast started, and it's like to make Kabrakan what he is, he needs to feel like Kabrakan. But if you make him feel like, if you nerf all of the things that make Kabrakan, if you nerf all of those into the ground, why would you play him over any other character, right? It's a good example of this, which is I brought up as soon as we started talking about this off camera. Loki. What if you were to target Loki's stealth? Like, this was done in Smite 1 a couple times, where if you hit him, he flickers. You can see him a little bit. Not, there was a for I think of 1 or 2 patches where you could see him if you were within the distance of him. You just saw like this black shadow running around. It just removes his identity, because his whole identity is, I am the stealth character. Like, there are some other characters that have stealth now, but
he does that.
The majority of Smite's lifetime, he was the stealth character, and if other people had stealth, that wasn't the main part of their kit. The thing about Loki is, when he's in the game, that's the thing I gotta worry about, is he can be anywhere at any point. When Kabrakan's in the game, that's what I gotta worry about, is this big guy who has 7 stuns and walls. And he can make me boogie dance, or whatever you call it, like, that is what makes Kabrakan. So if we were to remove what makes Kabrakan, then why would I ever play Kabrakan? So this is something I think, and I don't like comparing the two because they're very different games, but League and Smite, what League of Legends does is what we're touching on. They are so good at making this character so good at this one thing, that becomes their identity, and they suck at everything else. And you could punish that they suck at everything else. They don't have this issue even with new characters, that they're so broken beyond comparison because they can do everything, right? They are just like in Smite, they are super broken when they get released because their numbers aren't tuned, but they're usually really good at just this one thing. Whereas in Smite, it feels like people don't want them to be good at one thing; they want them to be good at everything or bad at everything.
Yeah. And it's just not right. It just doesn't do enough. Even the fact that this +1 has been added to Kabrakan with the refraction shield. Now, it's because Kabrakan was basically unplayable unless he was nuts, right? That was the problem with Smite 1, is that you basically never saw him. I remember there was one guy when I was backcasting some amateur Smite. I believe his name was Hughes, Hyuse, and he had this pocket Kabrakan solo pick where he built full damage. I'm talking Polynomicon, Book of Thoth. That's all. He'd die like 6 times in lane, and then get to late game, and he'd just try and run in, blow up the backline, and die. And that was his thing. And he did that phenomenally, right? And no one else was playing Kabrakan because Kabrakan couldn't do anything else. But that was a pretty cool playstyle. Now what they've added with this +1 of the bit of sustain off refraction shield, you now make him more viable in solo lane, right? Where he can have like some sustain and everything. They've done a similar thing to Thor with the aspect where you actually gain some sustain now, which allows him to be played in solo lane.
Yeah, because solo is like prolonged battles. You need the sustain to be viable to fight this longer.
Exactly, yeah. If because otherwise you just get poked out by mages and solo lane, right? If
Yeah.
if no solo laner had sustain, why don't you just play Agni and just run away and shoot chip damage at them, force them to back and everything? So I understand why Cabrakan got some sustain, but if they can tune that down and make Cabrakan not a sustain based solo lane, he's a damage based solo laner who just has a bit of sustain, right? Because then if you are Turtlia and you are running away from the Cabrakan all the time, he can sustain off the wave and everything, right? He gets that little edge back in. Having it there is good. Having it be low, I think, is better, right? It's just something that is for the character to help them, but it doesn't make them ridiculous. And I like that it was touched on because, in my mind, Cabrakan is an aggressive soul laner. He doesn't care. Not doesn't care. He's not the type to sustain through combat. He just wants to kill you before you kill him. That's a cool way to have this god. The more we can keep that identity, the better.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why he was called Fat Loki.
Yeah.
Is because he could literally do what Loki can without the invis, and that's why he got that aspect now where he can be exactly
Yes.
like Loki. Is because his identity was, I'm a guardian, but if you build me as such, I'll be completely useless.
Yes.
That's why you never saw him being played outside of these like very few niche either players or metas where he could build certain items to be playable. And yeah, I mean, we gotta try to change this view of whenever something's strong means there's no counterplay. Because there we gotta have, I mean, this is something for high-res also to understand, which I don't think they fully do, is there's gotta be trade-offs to some part of the kit being strong. It can't be all of the abilities are at 50% power level, because then he'll be
Yeah.
completely balanced. No, it's gotta be two of his abilities are like 70, the rest are bad, or like,
Yeah.
30%, whatever you want to do. Or that he is really burst heavy, but then he, for prolonged fights, he gets, destroyed. Like we said, if his healing's not there, he bursts, but then he's done.
Yeah.
He should have long cooldowns and do a lot of damage. Because then if I'm Thor, or Wukong, something like that, I'll get short cooldowns, but like I can prolong the fight
Yes.
because
Well,
I
sustain.
have sustain, I have heals, I have for Wukong I can literally just ult and stand up there for a while you waste your abilities below me. All right. Unless you have another good
No,
example
I
to that.
think it's similar to that. Like I say, I think
What is a other great example than Loki then? Just to make it easier for people to understand if they haven't already.
yeah. Let me try and think of something. So let's say you took oh, it's a few different gods who I'm trying to think of actual examples over the years, right? This is tough. This is tough on the spot.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm feeling is a nerf recently, which has just killed off a god, is so Ares in Smite 2. For quite a while, he had a situation where if you hit someone with an ult, they became crippled before the ult pulled, right? Like when, like
Oh
you'd
yeah.
activate the ult, and everyone who's got a chain was now crippled, and that was really what made Ares strong in Smite 2, because there are lots of ways to like avoid this, right? Like you could then like Jibalanque, for example, couldn't dash to just get the CC immunity and stuff. Or even if the ult doesn't pull, at least you've got that little bit of a guaranteed cripple, right? Let's say a Giannis is trying to get through a portal. Oh, I've ulted you. Now you can't. Let's say your original chain is down for whatever reason. You've then got an extra way to apply a cripple. Since they've taken that away from Ares, he's just gone. Like nobody
Yeah.
is playing that god now because he doesn't now do the thing that he was really good at in Smite 2. And as much as the ult, if it hits, is really effective, it not having any kind of secondary effect has just been too much of a nerf. And I think that's the type of thing that we should be avoiding, is like these reasons you pick the god need to stay. Anything else can change, right? Maybe the regular chains do less damage, make the flames do less percentage health damage. But that ult providing a cripple field was really good. I'm trying to think again. If it's like if you took away Thanatos' execute, But you kept
yeah.
him the same ult, but took away the execute. It's like, no, that's a
He's just
key
Thor at that
intrinsic
point.
part of it. Yeah, exactly. It's good, almost literally Thor, right? Very, very similar at that point. And yeah, I think you need to watch out when you, again, like you said, when things are strong, it doesn't mean there's no counterplay. It doesn't mean, that it has to be nerfed. You could nerf other things. Again, like Thanos is a good example. Keep the execute, maybe reduce the range on it if it does get out of control. Or you take away some sustain so that they can get in and get that execute, but then they don't heal as much. I think that was a nice change they actually made from Smite 1 Thanos to Smite 2, is he doesn't do as much burst damage, but his sustain is much higher. So he can stay in these fights, and there is a bit more counterplay possibility. And that's the right way to go about some of these balance changes. And again, Hi-Rez get it, because they did nerf the sustain on Brackens 2, not the damage output that he does, because that's cool. This is way more fun. This is the right way to do it. So, I think, again, positive for Hi-Rez, believe it or not, on this podcast. Yeah, it was the correct choice to balance it. It would be nice, and this is, been a long-term request for a lot of people, but, it's not something we're going to fix overnight. It would be good for the community to be more educated on this type of thing, right? More informed on why certain things get buffed or nerfed or whatever, rather than just like, just make their ult do more damage. That's not cool. Creative balance changes are a good choice.
Yeah, it's got to be, like a simple rule of thumb is buff what's good about the character instead of, and then nerf all the bad things about the character, just to, have that balance, instead of level them out. Like, this is too strong, let's bring that down. This is too bad, let's bring that up. No, like on her doesn't need a lot of damage on his jump. And then let's lower the damage on his 2. No, his one thing is I pillar and then I try to impale you on the pillar. If you were to bring them all in to be like, okay, the pillar does no damage, the 2 does almost no damage, and the 3 does almost no damage, but combine them and you'll find the way. No. Yeah. That just makes the character too, like you said, a perfect word for it, milk toast.
Yes.
If it's too milk toast, it's just like, it takes away the identity, like we mentioned at the very start. But to move on to something more high-res positivity focused, is we've talked about all the things that we don't like, talked about a few of the characters we don't like, and a few of the characters that we did like in Smite 1 that is now not as good as Smite 2. Let's talk about the gods. Let's do top 3 gods that both of us enjoy their kits, or think their kit, like their god design as a whole, is executed well. Yes. So why don't you start us off?
Yep. So we've gone through with the top 3. I will lead with the god I mentioned earlier. My number 1 god that I like the god design for is actually Naja. So the thing I like about Naja, and this is a theme for me, and one of the things I like about gods, is this is a god that now that they've been added to Smite 2, they are versatile in my favorite way. So we've just been talking about how you don't want gods to be good at everything or like medium at everything, right? And I think Naja encapsulates this one better than most. So the first thing I like is Naja doesn't have a lot in the way of mobility. There is a bit, right? The sash movement and the ult is good. Yeah. But both of those are cooldowns that have to be used in certain circumstances. So, for example, the sash, it doesn't get you out of danger unless you actually hook onto someone, right? Like you if you miss that, you're just standing still. Similar with the ult. It does go a fair distance, but it also can be blocked. And funny enough, if you ult max range and it got blocked at the max range, you go right back to where you started when you finish that
These
ult.
are the give and takes we talked about just a second ago.
Exactly, yeah. So what I really like about the god is that they, you can, if you're playing as them, you have this versatility of 4 abilities. Again, one of my favorite things. You can use these abilities in any order, and as long as the situation is correct that you've chosen, they're good. You can lead and initiate with an ultimate, and then like you can ult someone max range, then as soon as you land, you can sash them and you're right back on top of them. Or, as is more commonly seen, you can sash someone first, Then you have this mind game. Do they beads? Do they not beads? When do you ult and everything? You can sash and then ult, like is the typical combo, or you can sash someone and then start autoing them. You can sash someone and then get a guaranteed ring toss on them.
Yeah.
Hey, here's the big one. You can ring toss first between two people, get another couple of bounces, reduces their protections, then ult them for gigantic damage. It's any order that you use, particularly those three abilities in. Obviously, you have the flame spear afterwards, which is a bit different. It's a bit of a different use case, but again, you can throw it in whenever. You could use it first, because now I think it actually increases the crit chance on your ultimate. If I'm remembering correctly, that's a slight change in Smite 2. I'm not quite used to yet. Again, if you use that, it sort of telegraphs that you're looking for an ult, or you can use it when you're not looking for an ult. You might not have your ult, but then the enemy team is like, oh, they're going to try and ult me. I'm going to back away. It's like so many mind games and versatility in that. Not even touching on the fact that the aspect also allows you to do this, to play in this more support solo style way, or you can play it with a full damage, which is typically more of a jungle role, but you could also still take that in the support or solo lane. Like you could do solo lane with both. And you could still, like, again, aspect for support is a lot better, but you could still do it the other way if you wanted a really aggressive support build, right? You could still do all these things. And I think that's why I really like Naja as my number one, where they can just do lots of things in their own particular way. And that's probably one of my key points when it comes to god design.
Yeah, Naja for me was one of these characters I was waiting for in Smite 2 for a while, because as a jungler myself, for a long time, all the junglers you had were, all in, do as much damage as you can, get out type of characters. There was no supportive kind of junglers, which I think Naja is like such a great hybrid, like a combination of, because you have this, you gotta go in there, so you have to have the pieces around you to not just immediately get blown up. So you have to play with your team. You get in there, and then you set up the team with your ultimate, and hopefully some people combo off of it. So to me, it was like I was waiting for Naja to get released. I was super happy when he did get released, because I felt like that was an archetype, especially in jungle, that we were really missing. But it's very funny that you said one of the things you really like with characters is that they can fire all their abilities in different type of different order, and you will still do what the character wants you to do. That is the opposite of all of my characters that I've chosen. Because I'll start it off with probably the simplest of the three characters that I have in mind, Agni, where he can, for the most part, throw his abilities in any order, but he has this combo with his one. And that is the most important combo, is pretty much what makes Agni Agni, is the fact that any other ability he throws out, if his one is where they land, or if you place your one at the fire, because he's a fire character, you'll stun characters. And I feel like Agni is such a balanced character. He's been balanced for so long. It's been very rare in Smite 1, throughout the whole 11-year lifespan, that Agni has been this like broken character, and he's never been unplayable either, right? Like he covers the control mage aspect of the game so well, because of the three ultimates. You have the zone control that you want the control mage to have. You have the burst, and you have some setup, and his dash. The fact that you can use it defensively and aggressively what's it called?
Interchangeably. Right?
Interchangeably is, I think, one of the most fun just concepts to have on a character, where, much like Naja, like the ult, you rarely use that to get away, but you can.
Yeah.
Agni's dash, similar. Mostly use it to get away, though, but you can use it to dash in.
Use it to go in, yeah.
And you get so rewarded for it as well, because his 3 tick damage, if you land your dash on someone, it actually does like sneaky amount of damage. It does so much damage if you're just stuck on the fire. So if you're ever in a game and he dashes on you, get out of that as quickly as possible. Don't start basic attacking him while standing in it. Because it's sneaky damage. Like, it's dot damage, but it applies a lot, and it goes continuously for a long time. And you get the burn on you from his passive, if he has that primed as well. And I think he's one of these characters that is so well put together. All of his abilities, just like, first of all, his lore perfectly fit he's a fire guy. All of his abilities, literally every
He
single
do fire.
ability,
Yeah.
is just like fire in all the kind of ways you think when you think fire. I think fireball from the sky. I think a
Yep.
wave of fire. I think
Yep.
like this like
The
streak of
light of
fire. Yeah,
fire. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and then to top it all off, this like toxic fumes that
Yep.
everyone knows. If there's gas in the air and someone lights a lighter or something, explosion happens, and that's where you get the stun. And I just think it's all so perfectly blended. He's so easy to balance because there's so many different ways you can make him be good and or balance. Like he can be, his ult can be the focus. So you have,
Yep.
because he doesn't have this one button, blah.
Yeah.
That is so much harder to balance because you're focusing all your energy into this one thing and you want it to be impactful. But because he has 3 bombs, you can have each one of them do a little more damage than the normal ability, or you can have him do the same as an ability, and it will still feel good because as Agni,
Yes.
you're just like ba 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 ba, stun, brrr, shoot all my things, and
Yep.
by the time your whole kit is dumped on someone, you have one more ult charge up. Like it's gonna, it refreshes at the same cooldown as a normal ability.
So like
So,
you're
yeah.
cycling through, and yeah, it just feels good. Like you say, it's nice that you have the choices to make, right? Like there are certain times where you, particularly when you play games, right, where it feels like, oh, this is what you should do now, and then this is what you should do now. Whereas when you're Agni, like, when do you dump all 3 bombs, and when do you just use one, and then another one, and then another one, right? Like you can sort of time these and stagger your abilities in a certain way that it keeps your opponent having to guess. They don't know, oh, he's going to do this thing, right? And yeah, I think you're spot on with Agni here, and that again, the kit synergizes well. It always just feels good. Sometimes you see, I think particularly recently, Agni got quite high up in the meta just because the builds were chip damage, just things that hit
Yeah.
often. And yeah, that's what Agni does well. So he can be at the top of the meta, but he's never that low down because, like you say, he's always just doing something. And yeah, I think Agni's a great pick for this.
Yeah. What's your second character then?
All right, my number 2, actually very similar to Agni in this sense. So this is a god that I consider to be just a staple of balance in that they are always okay. And so I've picked Anhur for this god. So Anhur is what I like about them. Again, you have all 4 abilities which you can kind of use whenever, right? Like if you're trying to run away, do you pillar first? Do you impale first? Do you jump first? It's kind of all dependent on who you're up against. And I also like about Anhur is that if you are winning your lane, again, presumably in dual lane here, you're winning a lane, you can be aggressive, right? You can be jumping in on someone, dropping the pillar, impaling them wherever. You can be aggressive, and if you are down in lane, you can also play him defensively by doing basically the same things, right? Like you can jump away, you can pillar in the way, and I always like gods that use walls or those type of objects, right? And the pillar is just one of the most satisfying things to pull off, right? You don't have to nail people with the pillar itself. The ability has a circle of sand around it, which is where the balance comes from, right? That slow is like what's supposed to make him balanced. It's not like the most impactful ability, but when you pinpoint that, let's say you're playing against a Naja, you drop a pillar up right at the second they try to ult away, and they just slide straight into this pillar. It's one of the best moments you can ever have when you're playing Smite. You know, you see something like that, it can be really fun. So I like that Anhur has the simplicity of anyone could pick it up, and you know it's obvious what this god wants to do, right? The combo is very obvious. It's quite telegraphed, but that's fine. Everyone knows what's going to happen when it's Anhur in the game. But you can still play it any way that you want. And it then puts the power of the god within the player's choices, right?
Yeah.
When you choose to jump in is totally up to you. There's not a, oh, I jump in now. No. You choose when you jump in. If you choose right or wrong, that will define how your game goes. And yeah, I really like that, particularly about Anhur, right? Like just again, the versatility of them, the playmaking potential, because I always feel like a god, if it doesn't have the ability to make a cool play, what is the point, right?
Yeah.
Like well, why even bother playing them? And yeah, Anhur has, again, most of his stuff is single target, but that ultimate as well, you could tear through a whole team, you could steal a Gold Fury Fire Giant, you can make the big plays with it, and yeah, I think Anhur just does everything that a Smite God should do, basically.
Yeah, like this, the skill expression is to me one of the most important things in a character, because if you
Yeah.
feel like anyone could do what you're doing, if you try to master a character and then you feel like anyone can do what you do, then it doesn't feel as rewarding, right? Like Anna's this perfect stepping stone where you start playing him and you already feel pretty powerful. You kind of understand his
Yep.
kit, you know, you got a slow, you got some stuff, you got jump, you got your ult, and the like initial is like, okay, how do I always hit all of my ult shots? You know, that's like the first thing you think of as a new player. And then the next step up is, okay, how do I stun someone into the wall consistently and then, you know, shoot? And then the more you understand, like, okay, wait, I have this pillar. I can always have a wall, no matter where we're on the map. Okay, how do I position my pillar so that I can get the stun? And then once you unlock that knowledge, you're like, wait, how can I set this up even more? Okay, what if I jump in, knock him up first, then set up the pillar, bang, 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 bang. It's just like, it slowly teaches you, like, I feel like it so intuitively teaches you the levels of the character.
Yes.
Without it you don't have to know, like, Honor is a strong character even if you don't know all of these things, but he just gets stronger and stronger and better the more skill expression you can squeeze out of him.
Yeah. And it works the other way too, right?
Yeah,
like playing against
so
Anhur, that's how you have to learn, right? Like you might know, okay, Anhur does this, he has this impale into a wall, so I'm going to stand in the middle of the lane, therefore I don't get impaled. But then what do you do when he jumps in? You know, you have the choice: do you beads the jump? Do you beads after they connect? Like, you wait to see if they're going to hit you. Do you have anything in the kit that's maybe knock up immune? You know, it's like, do you have counters? Again, it's fun to play the god, and it's fun to play against the god. Again, if you're not bad, like
if you're not bad,
even little things. Do you remember when Danzaburo was relatively new and he suddenly got really strong? And I think I want to say it was Zapman started playing Anhur into Danzaburo, and I was like, why? It doesn't seem like a great matchup for them. Like, Anhur jumps in, Danzaburo just bursts all his damage on you, and it was actually so that when the Danzaburo ult would start flying at you, they'd throw up a pillar in front of the rocket and everything. And it's like, again, just little interactions. The more that you get to play the god, again, relatively simple on surface, but the potential for play and counterplay is all there. And again, it's why it's on my list for top god designs, right? It's just completely wrapped up in a nice little bow.
Yeah. And to come back to the skill expression point, that is kind of where I draw the most fun out of my characters. So one of the most skillful and characters you need a lot of skill to pilot, I would say, is Uller, and he's the second up on my list. And before I get to the skill expression part, which I think everyone knows that Uller is probably the most complex hunter that we have, I would say, like, just because some of his abilities are hard to hit. So he's complex to pilot, not as complex as a kit, you know?
Yes.
But before I get to that, I just think he is the perfect version of what I want a stance switcher to be. Where there's a clear difference between when he's in X stance and when he's in bow stance. Just first things first, his basic attack changes. Amazing concept, amazing idea for someone to sit there and be like, what if he changes a weapon and he goes from range to melee? Like, that is something you don't see anywhere else, I think, than Smite, where maybe some later games, but like...
there's one example.
Yeah?
Sorry, I want to point this out. There's one
go
example which is terribly executed, and you will be aware of this.
Okay.
Black Widow in Marvel Rivals, at least as an initial, had that whole sniper rifle, which was terrible because it didn't even one-shot people. And then you could switch to a melee stance, which was absolutely terrible as well. So it's been done. Not as well as Uller and Smite.
Yeah, exactly. But they copied that from Smite, clearly. No, but seriously, though. Like, I don't think in 2011, 2012, or whenever Uller was, I don't remember which...
2014, I think.
Oh, it was that late. Okay, yeah. Well, anyway, whenever he was released, you hadn't seen this. At least I hadn't seen this in any other game, or at least not executed to this level or this degree. Where, basic attacks changes, amazing. But then all of the abilities they're not tier. Like, tier is the worst, I would say, in a stance switcher, right? Because all of his abilities is exactly the same. They just have different effects, and that's just like, why am I switching stances? You know, like I love tier as character. It's just like a fun little pup, you know. But
yes, not.
Yeah, he's not this level of what I think is great god design, where you swap to your bow, and everyone around you. Also, sound design I think is amazing because you don't even have to look at Uller to know which if he's in bow or axe stance, because he has this like very distinct ka-ching when he does the axes, and then a draw sound when he does the bow. So when he's in bow, skill expression to the highest degree, I would say. Like you have line shot, an easy, simple line shot, but it's harder than I would say something like a Neath one, because the Neath one you can kind of aim as you fire it, versus the Uller, which is like and it goes pretty quick, and you gotta aim it. But it's easy. It's the easiest of all of his skill shots. His 3, one of the hardest abilities to hit, I would claim. One of the hardest, and the range is
to freehand it.
Yeah, and it's so far. The range is so far as well that it's actually insane if you play versus a good Uller. They hit you with that 3 from miles away. Yeah, and then the buff. I think also an amazing execution of the buffs, where his 2 gives you attack speed when you're in bow stance and movement speed when you're in axe stance. Clearly defines what you want to do in the different stances as well. Because when you swap to axe, you have the stun. Amazing, because then you can always set up yourself if you're not a high skill player. This gives access to lower skill players to still play this character. I think without the stun, he is impossible to play for anyone. His one in bow stance would have to be insanely high damage for you to ever play him reasonably. But his axe throw is still a pretty hard ability to hit, I would say. But most people just go melee and throw it in the faces of people and then to burst. But his 2 movement speed in the axes shows you that, okay, this is what I do when I want to chase or run away. And then 3 confirms that, yes, when I'm in axe stance, I want to jump away or in. I just think it just all comes together so perfectly, where you take not just the identity of the character, but the identity of the weapons he uses, where axes are like the close range fucking, I want to be in your face type of character, or I want to be mobile, and then bow, a little more clunky to carry around, I want to be as far as way as possible from you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so to me, just like perfect character or god design, kit design in particular. His actual like model and everything, I don't know Uller as like on a lore level, but the kit design, absolutely perfect for how I envision a stance switcher to be.
I also think there's this small effect, even like on his passive effect, right? Like his passive changes depending on what stance. So like I think you get lifesteal if you're in axe stance, and I think is it physical power? Is it the power or attack speed?
It's power. It's power.
Yeah, even just little things like that, right? The way it's like you can go axes, which will be more reliable to hit, but it won't be as damaging. But obviously, it gives you the lifesteal. So again, it's choices being made, because yes, everyone's been hit by a huge Ulla combo. It's probably 100 to 0 you, and it's very frustrating. It's one of the reasons I hate playing against that god.
I love that god.
But it's still, again, choices. Again, if the axe is down, right, that doesn't mean you can't do anything on Ulla. It does mean that your opponents have a bit of an incentive to say, okay, that axe is down, the big threat is gone. Is there anything I can do, right? Like again, it's a choice. Like let's say I'm playing Anhur, you're playing Ulla. You miss your axe on me. Does that mean I jump in, right? We can't answer that via podcast. It all depends on the context of the game. It has to be felt in the moment and everything. And yeah, whether I make the right or wrong choice there is really cool. It's good that these choices come into it. And yeah, I think we'll, like you said, there is the basic simple way to play it, like you say, where it's just hit the axe, hit the combo. You could practice that at home like all day, every day, and yeah, you'll get really good at it. But to really get good at Ulla, you need to be able to play without that easy setup or anything, right? And yeah, that's where, like you say, skill expression comes into it. And yeah, really good choice for a god. Yeah,
I love the levels of skill expression you can do with Ulla as well. So, like, quickly before you reveal your third god, if you can start hitting your 3-1 combo without the stun or any setup beforehand, that's when you know you're about to start cooking on Ulla, bro. All right, what's your third?
All right. So, my number 3. I had to think of this one for a while, actually. I initially came with 2, and then we decided we were doing 3. So I was like, all right, I want to pick something that is Smite 2 specific, right? Not something that has just come. So not necessarily a new Smite 2 god, but something that is specifically good design in Smite 2. And I was thinking about it for a while. Yes. So plus
Okay.
ones or for what is the actual answer? Hybrid scaling.
Ooh.
Um,
We touched on
but
that last
hybrid
week.
scaling, hybrid scaling in the cool way, which has sort of existed in Smite 1. So my extra choice is Guan Yu for number 3. And the reason is,
I know what you
again,
mean
I
by
love
hybrid
versatility,
scaling now, yeah.
right? Yeah. We're gonna go all the way on this.
Oh yeah.
I love Guan Yu as a base, right? Let's just no items in the game, whatever. Just the Guan Yu kit is very, very fun. It can be frustrating to play against, particularly if you don't have a way to counter the Talu Assault. You know, like if you can't stop that, that can be quite frustrating if he can just stick to you through that. But if you can counter it, all of a sudden the god is much, much weaker, you know, has different things to be thought of, right? It's not just a simple, oh, the kit is strong at all times. No, it is very matchup dependent actually for Guan Yu. But then the rest of the kit is just so much fun, right? Having the mobility of the little dash, which isn't super long, but you can do things like let's say you encounter an enemy ADC and they's like, all right, I'm going to start. Let's say it's an Ula. You see him switch to his axes. He's going to throw that axe at you. You can dash through him and end up behind him. So now you've got, oh, right, he has the 360 if he hasn't already thrown the ability, right?
180.
180. Yeah. Like, I mean, he could 360 if he wants to. Like that, that would be fine. But yeah, you can reposition. You don't have to dash through someone. You can dash sideways. It doesn't have to be,
It can be used
the
as
way
like
that
an evade tool, yeah.
exactly. It's not just as it is on paper, like, oh, it does damage, so I dash through people. Well, yeah, but you don't have to. It also combos well in a damage sense with the Talu Assault. Talu Assault shreds protections. Boom! Then you blast them with a chunk of damage, which, again, the dash does decent damage. If it's after a Talu Assault, does huge damage, right? So, again, a little bit of skill expression there, a little bit of choice when you use your abilities. Going down to how they've then implemented Guan Yu in Smite 2. Again, Smite 1 Guan Yu was totally fine. Fun god. But in Smite 2, things like during the Talu Assault, you can now pop, is it Conviction?
I think so.
No, or I think that's the passive effect.
That's
whatever.
what the passive's called, yeah.
Yes, that's the
Conviction.
passive effect. I can't quite remember the name of the ability right now.
Cast
the knowledge failed. But yeah, you can pop the heal now.
Conviction.
It is Conviction. Yes, get it.
The passive is called Battle Fervor.
Right, okay.
Fervor?
I'll mix it up. But yeah, knowledge. I got it there. Conviction. So yeah, you can pop the Conviction, the heal, during the Talu Assault now. You can pop it during the, what's the ultimate called? Whatever. The big horsey. You can pop the heal during that now, right? That is the type of Smite 2 changes we wanted to see, right? Just these extra, like now all of a sudden Guan Yu is not this god where you have to think, oh, do I want to do damage or do I want to heal? No. You do both. If that's what's suitable, you can do both all at once. You can use your cooldowns quicker. So then you might find yourself without any cooldowns rather than Smite 1, but it's nice that you have the choice. But going into the hybrid scaling aspect, and this is what I really like about Guan Yu's implementation. So we have several different scaling types on Guan Yu. It is not just strength or int scaling, which most people might have thought of at first. You have your strength scaling, right? Your basic strength scaling, which just increases the damage Guan Yu does. Sometimes you want that. That's good. It's good that that's in the game. You have your int scaling, which I believe the only thing it does for Guan Yu is actually increase the amount of healing that he does, or maybe the passive effect of the heal. But yeah, the heal output gets increased by intelligence. Sometimes you might want that, particularly with the aspect playing support right now. Good that you can do that. There's another type of scaling where you can scale movement speed on Guan Yu. There is not a lot of that in the game, but when you do get some movement speed, you can actually increase the amount of speed you move on your horse. So you can just fly up a lane if you eventually get to like super high movement speed, or you use other gods that increase that. You can stampede and then ult, and then you'll go a much further distance, right? Things like that is really good. And there's another one. You can scale attack speed on Guan Yu, which increases increases the hits on the Talu Assault and how fast you swing while on the horse. This is 4 different ways to build this god, right? And all of them could be viable. I'm not saying they're all going to be viable at the same time, but build diversity, the thing we've been crying out for, guys, just play Guan Yu. You can play him anywhere. Like, you can just sort of do whatever you want to do. And that's, again, exactly what we want from Smite 2 and hybrid scaling. You have the activity increase from Smite 1 where he now feels more fluid, right? Being able to heal during Talu Assault. Like, I remember playing Smite 1 having to cancel my Talu Assault because, oh no, I needed a heal first, right? And then you're down 2 cooldowns and barely any effect. Now you don't have to make the choice. You can use both if you want to. So you have this increased fluidity, like we talked about with Xing Tian. Hey,
Yep.
doesn't that sound familiar? Increased fluidity, increased potential with scaling in so many different ways. It's just exactly what we want from Smite 2. Every other god should be looking at Guan Yu to see how can we make this god cooler in Smite 2. And that's why I would say that they're probably one of the best designed gods. Again, it's the same Smite 1 design. If you played Smite 1 and played Guan Yu, you could just hop in, plug in Smite 2, and it will feel exactly the same.
Yep.
And if you wanted to change it up, you have that option as well. And yeah, it's just the baseline. In my opinion, that should be the standard. It shouldn't be the exception. It should be every god is like Guan Yu.
Yeah, I mean that's something I haven't even thought about that much. This is something like you said, high res should be looking more at these kind of characters that have different scaling than just power scaling. Like
Yes.
intelligence and strength shouldn't be the only thing that buffs your character. It should be these other kind of things. Like it would be so cool if okay, I just gotta think of something real quick.
There is another one in the game. I'll
Yeah,
point out to you in
go
the
for it,
meantime.
go for
So the Daji aspect actually scales her 2 off of attack speed, and the more attack speed you have, the more it hits. So it still hits the same length of time, but it can supposedly scale infinitely. Obviously not true because of the limits to attack speed. But yeah, that's again another way to do it. But they chose to do it in the aspect rather than as part of the god, and I think that's the one downside there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so many more ways you can do that as well. Like you could have certain abilities interact differently depending on how many protections you have, how much health you have, all of these kind of things. I feel like why aren't we, or why isn't Hi-Rez exploring that more? It feels like they like dipped their toes in with Guan Yu and then decided, you know what, this is too hard for us. Let's not do it on everyone else. And yeah, I feel like they already have their hands full with a lot of things, but some things can be revisited, I guess, once we have the content side of Smite kind of already released. But it's hard because you don't want to release Susano, for example, which is already in the game, and then 3 years later you decide, oh, now we're gonna start adding different kind of scaling on it, like that. Yeah, that also kind of feels bad. But it sucks that is it really only Daji and Guan Yu?
No, so another one is Chiron. So you have now. I actually don't like this one the same way.
That is true.
But you do have the 2 instances of Masterful Shot, which I believe they called both of them Masterful Volley, which is basically the secondary effect, right? So Masterful Shot is the 2 that you target someone and phew, flies an arrow off to them, and then if you have over a certain power, you then get another ability to cast, and if you have above a certain amount of attack speed, it then shoots off multiple times. My personal experience with this though is unless you're building specifically to get one of these effects, it doesn't feel very good that you only seem to get them like 30 minutes plus. Like you have got to be full build to really have these coming out, and that's not the right way to do it. Because like, I've played plenty of times with Chiron. You have a game, it's heading to late game. Which, by the way, if you're playing Chiron ability based and it's gone to late game, you've probably already lost. But you're playing it this way, and then all of a sudden you're 30 minutes in, and I've got another ability I can use now. Like, in theory, that's cool, but most of the time you just forget. Like, you have one big team fight. Oh wait, I had another 2. I could, and then you've got to remember, right? What's the range on this? It's been 30 minutes. I haven't played it. Like, it's the wrong time. Like late stage of a game is the wrong time to introduce like new mechanics, right? I feel like it should be a scaling option. Just let it happen earlier. Like if they want it to be weak, fine, right? But let's say you build Transcendence early, or even have it like the sort of Tsukiyomi like dependent scaling, right? Like if you have a certain amount of intelligence, whatever, it does this. Like if you have higher power than attack speed, or however they'd want to scale those things, then it does the extra shot. If not, it does the multiple hits. Like, but don't just give it to me 30 minutes into the game. Like I'm not expecting it then.
I mean, this reminded me, a great concept they have in League of Legends on one character, which I think would be a perfect avenue for, you reminded me this with Chiron, and I'm surprised that they did this kind of halfway instead of just going all out, where Kaisa, which is a character in League, basically, depending on what you build, you evolve your abilities. So she has this like rocket firing thing, much like Chiron's too. or just like fire some rockets out of her rocket launchers.
Yep.
And like in Chiron's 2, it just like auto targets, right? But if she gets a certain amount of attack speed, it fires, double the amount. Same as with Chiron. But she has two other abilities that also gets evolved. And this is where
Right.
I think and that is if you build something else. So like if you build what they basically their version of intelligence, ability power, if you build that, she can she I think it's either her cooldown gets reset if she hits her like skill shot, or
Yep.
it goes down a lot. And it can travel further or something. And her, if she has built enough power or something, she can go invisible or whatever. That's not important. What is
There
important
is
is
more to it,
high
right?
res can take this, and they already did halfway with Chiron.
Yeah.
Have your abilities depending on what you're building, or if you're, because what you ideally want is a character that either has to make a choice, or a character that when you're full build, you get an extra scaling level. Where
Yeah.
throughout the game you're building lifesteal, for example. Let's add that, because that is something you rarely see. And any abilities being affected by it. Let's say if you reach a certain number of lifesteal, one of your abilities evolves, so it gives you more healing when you do it, or more lifesteal when you do it. I think that would be way more cool and fun to just see
Yeah.
your character, the abilities change, like evolve over time, instead of just like doing more damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that brings me to my character. Unless you had more to say
No, no, go
on
ahead.
you, because we are getting close to time. We're already over 2 hours.
Yeah, let's go.
We might not actually be over 2 hours in real time, because we did have the starting stream thing in the beginning. But my last character, I'll quickly go over it because it's not that complex. But the character is. But the reason why I love it is because it's just so complex, and that is Susano. And I think he encapsulates skill expression to me in just the maximum thing you have in Smite. I think before Seth gets into Smite 2, he will probably be the most amount of buttons you can press in different ways to do different things. And
Yep.
depending on how you do that, in what order you do, you can be the greatest player of all time. Where his three different ones already gives you so many options, gives you different ways to attack, gives you different ways to get in and out. You can always wait with your last one to dash out, or you can use it to continue chasing, whatever. Is two as a setup tool, not just damage, but as a setup tool for himself, for abilities, but also his teammates, is actually insane. Like the
Yeah.
value you can get off of just pulling enemies in. It's like you're playing support half the time, except you're doing all of the damage as well. So like you pull three people in, and then you just watch them blow up in front of you because
Yep.
your Agni is shooting things. Your support areas is maybe burning them while you're just dishing out as much damage as you can at the same time. And his three, I think one of the better teleportation abilities, because it's very easily it's so telegraphed that everyone knows where
Yep.
he's going. You can block it, which I think is amazing, because that gives him some skill expression on. You can't just like, oh, I want to get out of here, beep,
I'm
and
gonna
then you're
teleport
gone.
there. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can block it. You can predict it. There's so many different ways, and the fact that it sticks to people just makes it such a fun tool to use against people that already want to escape, because you have this
Yep.
mind game every time a Susano goes on you. Is do I if you throw you wait to throw your three until the last second before you think they're gonna jump, so that they think, oh, he's not gonna throw his three, I'll jump, and then you throw your three right before they jump, and then they're
Yep.
fucked because
And
you'll
they just
just
follow
teleport. Yeah.
them.
um and then I think his ultimate was more fun to use when it was an instant knockup, but I understand for balance reasons why, because I don't know if you knew this, but in the beginning of Smite 2, when he first came out, or maybe a few updates in, You didn't have to charge your ult at all. You could just fire it almost
Yeah.
immediately, and it would knock up to the same effect as it would now at full charge. And that just made it so like, okay, I can choose between an instant knockup or a lot more damage. And to
Yeah.
me, that was a more fun choice, but I understand that it was too broken. Because to me, it was like, okay, I'm just going to take the knockup because I'm standing here with my 3 on them already, with my 2 primed. As soon as the knockup's done, I'm knocking them up again, and then just spamming my 1 and holding left click to basic attack. And with this new passive, rewarding you for doing animation canceling, which is something we haven't talked about too much or at all on
Oh,
this
yeah.
podcast. Animation canceling is this concept that is so fun to master once you realize that it's a thing in the game. When you
Yeah,
realize that you can maximize or like increase your damage by such a higher amount if you weave in auto attacks in between your abilities, the game just unlocks like in your brain like so many characters that you thought were meh or useless
Yep.
just become these monsters like Nemesis. If you don't know how to AI cancel Nemesis, she is useless. Like, I don't understand how people walk into an arena game, dash through you twice, dealing 30 damage at max rank, and then twos you for like 200 damage when you have 3,000, and then just starts basic attacking you. Like, how is that ever gonna do any damage? You know? But if you build her in the way you should, and then you do like dash auto, 2 auto,
Yep.
3 auto, like it's insane amounts of damage you're dishing out in a very short time. Because if you guys don't know, animation canceling is basically as soon as you start clicking your auto attack, like if you're hitting someone, as soon as you see the auto attack land, click an ability, and it will just cancel the animation, and your ability will trigger. And it basically makes it so, like for Nemesis, who has this long, her first like basic attack is like this of her sword. It's like for her, that first swing does a lot more damage than all her other swings with the sword because they are a little quicker. But if you do, just wait until you're like you hit barely, so you don't do the full swing, just bat, and then you instantly cancel, and you just keep doing that. It's so much more fun. And Susano has the same thing. It pretty much the exact same thing. Where if you won AA cancel, 1 AA cancel, 1 AA cancel, 2 AA cancel, 3, and then here comes the crazy part: auto attack 3 to shoot it out. His little cloud. Auto attack again. Teleport. Auto attack again.
Yeah.
So you can basic attack them 3 times within. I'm not kidding. Within 1 second. Like within. I think it is like 1.2 seconds. You can, if you do it perfectly, it's just bang 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 bang, and you have applied Hydra's Lament 3 times.
Yep.
Like, guys. This is what
it's so much better,
about.
Right? Yeah. I mean, everyone remembers, right? The first time you hit a Thor combo, right? You're like, ult, hit, stun, hit, hammer, hit, spin, hit. They're dead. Yeah. Surely by that point, right? If they're not dead then they weren't going to die anyway. But yeah, the first time you pull that off, like you say, it's Pandora's box of like, wow, that was so much more damage than just not doing that, right? Like we are talking hundreds, right? And in a game of relatively fine margins, it does make a big difference. And you can tell very quickly, like Nickel, you know this, and I think people listening probably have picked up on this. You can tell how good your opponent is when you see things like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can tell where in their like sort of smite journey they are. If you're playing against a Thor who is not doing the full combo, or you play against a Thor who is attempting to do the combo, maybe not executing it, like you can tell levels, and then you get hit by like you queue into adapting, and you just boom, 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 and you're just dead before you even realize what's going on.
Yeah.
That's when you can tell the difference, right? It does feel a much, much different game when you see the potential that some of these cards can put out.
This is where the phrase "what" comes from. is when you're not aware of this. Someone who is aware of this does that to you, and you're like, I can never do that much damage when I play Thor. You know? No, that is honestly to me just one of the like biggest joys in Smite is to find a deeper level to the game that isn't immediately obvious to me. I think
yes,
it's one of the things. Lem TM, do you know who he is?
Not off the top of my head.
Is the number one on Wheelix in the world. And the things
Okay.
I see him do on a Wheelix are like unimaginable, amazing things that I could never think of. But as soon as you see it, you're like, oh, of course. If I
Yeah.
knock someone up and then jump over the wall with my Suku and then pull him, that's way better than just knocking him up and pulling him immediately. It's like, oh, the things you can do if you really pay attention and get to the nitty-gritty
Yep.
of this game is so fun. It's such a deep game, more deep than you would think, but it's not very easily accessible. Like you're not gonna, unless you see it with your own eyes. Even if someone does it to you, you're not gonna understand what's going on to you, or what's going on in front of you until someone actually shows you or tells you. I think, which makes it kind of harder for the casual or even up and coming players, right? Like the learning curve at some point reaches this. So yeah, that's my last god. We've covered 6 gods now. We definitely have more in the bank, but we'll do that some other time. I love talking about Smite. I gotta be honest, like Judas, the last 4 weeks now, we've done this 5 times. We did a test episode. I've done this for a month of uploading. It's one of the things I look forward to every week. So I gotta appreciate that you're here. Appreciate you talking Smite with me.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone else for listening. That's gonna be it for us this week. Hope you had a joyous day. Hope you enjoyed. And like I said earlier, comment, like if you want to do that, subscribe if you want to catch us next time. Catch us on twitch.tv/InstantQast or on YouTube or on the Reddit post that you might be seeing this from. This is us signing off. Goodbye.